Okay. Hello and welcome back to the program. This is Doug Oreste. Today's episode is part of our Work Well series, and I have a very special guest with me. Is Oreste DAversa. He is a small business coach, consultant, trainer, author, speaker, seminar leader, public speaking coach, many, many things. You're also a licensed minister. Is that am I remembering that correctly? Oreste?
Yes, that's correct. I'm an interfaith minister, and that means help everybody out.
So, all right. So anyway, I just wanted to give people a little bit of background on you, and we'll tell people how they can learn more about you at the end. But today we're going to talk about mindfulness, and I'll sort of pose this to you. I feel like we're busier than ever. There's so many things coming at us. You know, the day starts, we may have the best of intentions, but as it goes on, you know, we start running around like, you know, like a chicken with their head cut off. Can you give us some tips for how to come back and be present during the day?
I think the challenge, what's happened over I would say, the past 20 to 25 years in work in general, is we're using our minds more and more and our backs less and less, meaning work has become more of a mental pursuit versus a physical pursuit. Now, with that said, what we're not really taught as a lifestyle practice is how to really be present in the moment and center ourselves and be here now. And all that takes really is just a little bit of concentrated breathing. Just stop wherever you are, sit down someplace where it's safe, obviously, close your eyes, and just take a few deep breaths for really a minute or two. And just focus your thoughts, focus your mind, and focus on the task at hand. And you'll find that you'll be able to center yourself, center your thoughts, center your body, calm your body down, calm your mind down, and get back to the task at hand.
What would you say to people, because I do hear this, where they go, but I'm so busy, I don't have time to do that?
Yeah, well, it's the chicken and egg thing, isn't it? It's the chicken. I'm too busy because I'm busy, you know. But what they need to do, again, I think we have to start instituting practices and understand that the mind by itself is almost like an organ, and we need to rest the organ a few minutes. Because obviously, if you were outside shoveling a hole, for instance, and you were working extremely hard, right? You would take 5 minutes to just take even a bio break, go to the bathroom, or get a drink of water, or just take a breather. And the mind is the same way. And what's happened over the years is I think we've kind of forgotten that the mind is an integral part of working, that we use our minds to do our tasks.
Yeah, you know, that's a very interesting point. You know, when labor was more physical, when most of us were doing more physical labor, we were probably forced to slow down because you just physically can't do it. But yet somehow, with our minds, we don't take that same break. We don't see ourselves as, you know, oh my gosh, my brain is exhausted, in the same way that, like, I just can't physically dig this ditch anymore.
Well, exactly. You know, your body tells you to stop. You know, because what happens is you'll start cramping up, right? I mean, you'll bend over in pain. You'll be doubled over in pain, and unfortunately, we don't give our mind the same recognition and the same breaks, and we're really not taught really to exercise our mind and rest our minds and work with our minds the same way we work with our bodies.
So let me ask you this. So that's great. You know, that's you know, taking that break, stopping, breathing. Of course, there's the work itself. Do you have any tips for how we can be more mindful as we work?
Well, the best thing is as the adage goes, plan your work and work your plan. So really make a short list based on what you're doing and prioritize what needs to be done. You know, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. We're not talking about planning for months and weeks. We're talking about planning that day or planning that work segment. So if you were going to work, let's say, coming back from lunch, what are you going to do from 1 to, say, 5? What needs to be done? What needs to be done in what priority? And how are you going to do it?
I love that because, again, I think there's a way in which, I'm sure we've all had this experience where you're doing something. It's almost like, you know, driving, right? I mean, I've had those experiences. You end up home and then you think to yourself, how did I get here? And I think we have those experiences at work too, right? Where we can just be doing things and then we're not present.
Yeah, again, I think what's happened is we're entering a new phase in work, and we have to understand how that works. Because basically, I mean, the way I see it, we're made up of four basic components: the mind, the body, the physical, which is the body, the mind, which is the brain, the emotions, and the spirit. So what happens is we're transitioning, and we continue to transition from a physical work employment to a mental work employment. And we need to bring in tools like breathing and mindfulness and relaxation and meditation to re-energize our minds the way we re-energize our bodies.
Do you have any suggestions, Oreste, from let's say a leadership perspective? Let's say that I'm a leader and I notice that my staff is kind of, maybe they're burnt out or they're just running around. Do you have any tips or thoughts for how to help create a culture of mindfulness in an organization, or how to foster mindfulness in employees?
Well, really, I think it's important to get back to basics and getting back to group staff meetings, just 5-minute meetings maybe in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon. I know, for instance, Oprah Winfrey, when she had her show, she would have 5-minute meetings of just meditation. And the meditations weren't elaborate or fancy or anything, but it was just stopping, doing some deep breathing and focusing and getting regenerated. And I think it's time to institute those types of team activities and team exercises to rejuvenate everyone mentally so they could be as productive as possible in the workplace.
It's interesting, just as we wrap up here, I was thinking about, as you were saying that, and moving to a mental place, and then I think about AI and ChatGPT and these things. Perhaps, we're going to have assistants that can do things and, compute things in a way that our brains, much faster than our brains can. But at the same time, I'm thinking maybe the important thing really is going to be the humanity that we bring to things. Like, our presence is going to be the thing that ChatGPT can't reproduce. And I'm just wondering if maybe we will put more value on mindfulness and presence, because we're not going to be able to outwork the AI.
Right.
We're not going to be faster than AI.
Well, the ChatGPT is a tool, and like all tools, it really needs to be used in a mindful way. And what's going to happen is there's going to be an evolution in the marketplace of using ChatGPT, and it has to be understood that it's going to be a tool to help us. And it really depends on how it's going to be used by human beings. But really, the ultimate driver of ChatGPT is the human being, because without the human being, ChatGPT is nothing. So what I think we're going to see is, like at the turn of the century in the 1900s, where we had a horse and buggy. Everyone used horse and buggy.
Hold on one second. Oh, you cut out on me there real quick. I don't know if it was you or me.
Okay, can you
hear me?
Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah. You cut out for a moment. So yeah, you could say, I think what's going to happen is like at the turn of the century. That's where I lost you.
Okay. If you recall, at the turn of the century, back in the going from the 1800s to the 1900s, everything was horse and buggy, and people were fretting when the car came that what's going to happen to all these people. They're going to lose their jobs, the buggy makers, the horseshoe maker. So there was a transition then. And I think we're seeing that transition now with ChatGPT and tools like that. And like everything else, it really depends on mankind's mentality and intent on how to use these tools. I think ChatGPT will be very useful.
Oreste, I'll ask you, if you don't mind, maybe cut your video. It might be that. Here, you got it. Yeah, you just we're almost there, yeah.
That's okay.
So the last thing I heard you say was about, right, people were fretting about, the horse and the buggy makers losing their income.
Right.
That was where, yeah.
All right, you had the buggy makers losing income, and they're worried about what they're going to do, and then we had the automobile industry, and that fostered a whole bunch of new jobs, right? Then you had people an auto body, you had auto mechanics, you had people making tires and interiors, etc. So I think that what you're seeing now is that's what's going to happen with ChatGPT. It's going to free human beings to do a lot of the mundane work that we do. Now, with that said, it's going to bring in new opportunities, and conversely, other minor work, will be handled, as through artificial intelligence.
And we can't really be creative and be those drivers, the best drivers of ChatGPT, unless we learn how to manage our own mind, right? Which I think goes back to mindfulness.
Well, without question, people. My background very quickly also is 20 years in the technology industry, as well as being a minister. So I understand the use of technology, and at the end of the day, technology is a tool. If you're not the brightest, if you're not the sharpest pencil in the box, before having a computer, guess what? That computer is not going to make you a genius. So if you don't understand, the use of ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence before, artificial intelligence is not going to make you an Einstein overnight. So people need to understand the depth, breadth, and scope of technology.
I love it. So thank you so much, Oreste. You've given us a lot to think about. I want to make sure if people want to learn more about you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they can go to my website at www.metrosmallbusinesscoaching.com, and they can get some freebies in there and learn more about me there. And as well as other books I've written. I've just released a book, funny, where we're talking about this on AI in the workplace and things of that nature. So you can learn more about me on Amazon.com as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today.
Okay, thanks again.
Hey, all right, sir. Thank you so much. That was great. That was perfect.
Good. All right.